All right, we're in the home stretch on this longer than usual episode of Joe and the Fat Man. That's because it is our season preview episode. Let's talk about the schedule, Kyle. Joe Smeltzer, Kyle, Fat Man, Golik, Disney Sports Now. Let's break it down real quick. I will pull this bad boy up. Penn State fans have looked at it and studied it and ranted and raved
I, I
about it for
think
months.
I think the better question for the first 3 weeks, Joe, is can Penn State should be 3-0, but
They will
how
be 3-0.
how dominant will they be in these first 3 games?
Yeah, how dominant will they be? How will the reserves look? Because we're going to see. We're just talking about the depth on defense, especially. How are those guys? The true freshmen, Kamaju and Coleman, and players like that. LeVar Arrington Jr. if he gets to play. Owen Wafel. We'll just see what that depth is. I think those are big questions. But yeah, they're going to win the first 3 games. I
Do
don't think
you
there's any
so
doubt
do
about
you
that.
think do you think they can win the first 3 games with a plus 100 point differential? Because that's where I got them.
Yes, I think so they'll have to win every game by about 33 points. Yeah, I think they'll do that, especially since like these aren't just like non-power 5 programs. These are like bad non-power 5
Do you
programs.
think
Like
they can push 120 point differential?
I mean they can push it. Yeah.
I mean that's
Because I mean look
40
at what
because I'm thinking
yeah,
Villanova.
Nevada went 3-10 last season.
Yeah, Villanova. It's one of those 56-7 games. So that's 49 right there.
Yeah.
Nevada, it could be week 1 rust. You know, I can see that being 41-7. And then you go over to FIU. FIU is horrible. I
Which
could tell
went
you,
4-8 last year.
I that's going to be another bloodbathing. So, like I said, they may even push, in my mind, Joe, almost 140 points differential. And it's just how dominant they are. It just depends when Franklin calls off the dogs and whatnot. So I really think we got to get to the whiteout because I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time next
Yeah.
week previewing Nevada's in the subsequent weeks, FIU and Nova.
This is the whiteout, which obviously is against Oregon, September
27.
27th after the bye week. Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
Kyle. On NBC under the bright Happy Valley lights. This is a game that I should see as a toss up, but I just, for one reason or another, I'm just very confident that Penn State is going to win that game. And I'll say right now, I think they're going to win it big. And mainly because I don't think Dante Moore, Oregon's quarterback at that stage of the season, is going to be ready to walk in to that type of environment and do a good job. I have visions of Kevin Jennings. I don't know if Dante Moore is going to cover his ears and be caught on camera doing that, but I think I see Dante Moore being very rattled by the whiteout crowd. I just do. Part of that's gut feeling, part of that's based on logic. Part of that is remembering how well Penn State played offensively against Oregon last year, and now getting them this year. They don't have guys like Derek Hartman back on the defensive front. I think it's a better Penn State team against an Oregon team that is going to, although it's still a top 10 team preseason, I think that team's going to take a step back. And personnel wise, how they match up combined with Penn State's motivation from last season, what happened in the Big Ten title game, and of course the whiteout crowd. I say Penn State by double digits.
Oregon cannot stop the run against anybody that has any ability to run the football. We watched in Indianapolis in a losing effort, Penn State as a team run for 297 yards and average nearly 9 yards a rush. I would love to know, I don't have it on me, Joe. Don't even try to look it up because that's probably one we'd have to research. How many teams have lost a game rushing for nearly 300 yards and averaging 9 yards a carry? I can't I have to imagine that number is very slim. It's probably one of those like 300 to like 7 or something like that. It's that tilted. I think Penn State's going to run all over them. I think this is going to be Drew Aller's Heisman introduction to Heisman voter game. I will tell people Oregon's missing Evan Stewart, and they just had a 5-star linebacker booted from the team. They still got amazing athletes on the perimeter like DeCarry Moore, and they have, in my opinion, one of the best tight ends in the country. I'm trying to remember his name offhand. Let me try to pull it up here real quick. I think Kenyon Sadiq is his name. That's it. So I don't think people need to poo-poo on Dante Moore. I think he will be effective, but this is one of those games that Penn State, you have a lot of guys in that room that were left sour and hurt in Indianapolis last December. This is kind of meet your maker. I like Penn State against Oregon.
Yep, I do too. The next week is Penn State has to travel across the country, play UCLA. This is a game I know Penn State will win. I'm very confident in that, but it might be a little more uncomfortable than Penn State fans are hoping for because you got the combination of if Penn State beats Oregon and especially if they blow out Oregon, they're going to be riding a high and there might be a bit of a hangover. Or if they lose to Oregon, uh, they'll run into what they've run into before, which is letting a frustrating loss carry over into the next week. We saw most recent example was after they lost to Ohio State in 2023, almost losing to a very bad Indiana team at home. I think I like what UCLA is building as a program. I think Deshaun Foster obviously made an ass of himself at Big Ten Media Days last year, started 1-5, but the team didn't quit. They finished 5-7, and now with adding Nico Iamaleava, I think this is a bowl-bound team. I think it's an improved football team, but I really don't see UCLA beating Penn State. But I think the combination of all these factors could make it a bit of a game and make it something where Penn State fans are still invested and interested in it by late in the third quarter, maybe even the start of the fourth quarter.
I think Penn State's going to walk all over UCLA. I like Penn State big.
All right. We have our first disagreement. It's not a major one because we both see Penn State winning, but do we even really need to talk about Northwestern? I mean, that's a win at home. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But then the next 3 are hypercritical.
Yep. Yep, at Iowa. We'll talk about that first. At Kinnick, I think it might be a night game. It could be a free 30 game, but I think it feels like whenever Penn State plays Iowa on the road, with the exception of 2021, it's usually a night game for some reason. And I think that's going to be the case here. Kirk Ferentz's teams always play
Well,
Penn State
Joe,
tough.
NBC already has for October 18th penciled in for primetime USC and Notre Dame.
Oh, that's a good call. So yeah, we'll probably a free 30 then.
I see it as a big noon. It'll be 11 a.m. for us in Iowa City.
Oof. Yeah, I don't like the sound of that. But this Iowa, we know what to expect from them. Great defense, poor offense. They make teams work hard. But I think this Penn State team is the talent's gonna triumph overall in this one. So I think Penn State winning a close-ish game, maybe like 10 to 14 points. What do you think, Kyle?
I hope Penn State, that's a game that Kirk Ferentz loves to play spoiler. I think Penn State wins, but it's good. I think even at a big noon kickoff, waking up is going to be a problem. If the game is at 2:30 in Iowa City, 3:30 our time, I like Penn State more in the game. But if it's at noon, if it gets flexed to Fox Big Noon, which I could very well see happening, that's going to be a little too close for comfort for me. But if it's at 3:30, I like Penn State by double digits.
All right, next week is the big one, November 2nd at Ohio State. That will
November
definitely
1st.
be a big noon game. November 1st, thank you. November 1st at Ohio State. That's definitely going to be big noon. Hasn't been made official yet, but yeah, we all know what it's going to be. I'll keep this one brief. Penn State hasn't proven it can beat Ohio State, and until they do, I'm not going to pick them, even though I think they're the better team.
Penn State's going to win the game of the century in Columbus, so I'm taking the Nittany Lions in a statement win.
It would be a statement win. So next week against Indiana, that's kind of where you have to worry about either a hangover from winning or being in your own heads from losing. I think Indiana could give Penn State a game, but Kurt Signetti, even though he said he quote unquote beats the shit out of ranked opponents, he didn't prove that at Indiana. The two times the lights were the brightest against Ohio State in the regular season and then at Notre Dame in the playoff. They not only lost, they didn't look too good in those losses. So Penn State has a better roster than Indiana. They'll be at home. They'll be past midseason form. So I think you'll be getting the best version of Penn State, barring any psychological effects from the Ohio State game. So I like Penn State, and I'll say they win that one fairly big.
I think that one's going to be the tight one. I think they're going to be high off of a statement win against Ohio State. It's going to be up in the air into the fourth quarter. Penn State turns it on late and wins, maybe by kind of like the 2022 or 3 game where it was like close until late, and then Penn State got 2 late touchdowns to make it a 14-point win. I think it's that kind of game.
Yep. So moving on, at this point in the season, Kyle has Penn State a perfect 9-0. I have them at 8-1. 3 games to go at Michigan State. Jonathan Smith, I think is the right guy for the job. He's building a pretty good program, but they're just not ready yet. I like Penn State in that one. Uh, fairly big by a few scores.
I'm in the same boat. I think the next week, Joe, I think it's one of those trap games.
Against Nebraska. Yeah, I'll say I think this could be kind of like the Illinois game was last year, where Penn State plays very well and dominates everywhere but the scoreboard. But because of one thing or another, it's still close late in the game. I see it being that type of deal. I think Nebraska hangs around until like the last 5 minutes or so, but I think Penn State will get a late score to kind of bury the Cornhuskers. It might be similar to Boise State, the Fiesta Bowl in that regard too.
That's kind of where I was going. It's going to be close into the second half. Penn State pulls away and capitalizes on some Dylan Raiola mistakes. I like Penn State by 3 scores against Nebraska, 31-14 type game.
Yep, and then that ends us off at Rutgers the weekend of Thanksgiving. For whatever reason, Penn State just doesn't bring the juice generally against Rutgers. We saw it a few years ago coming off the Michigan loss on Senior Day, where Penn State just kind of sleptwalk, and they've done that in other cases too against Rutgers. If you look at the history, but at the same time, the last game of the year, the past few seasons, Penn State has just kind of romped whoever they've played against. They embarrassed Michigan State 49-0 in 2023. Last year, they absolutely waxed Maryland when they knew they just needed the win to get to the Big Ten championship game. And then 2022, Michigan State hung around for a little bit, but Penn State ended up getting a free score win. So, yeah, I think this Rutgers team just isn't going to have the firepower to keep up with Penn State. Penn State's either there's going to be something at stake, whether it's a trip to the Big Ten title game, preserving an undefeated season, and Penn State's going to come out motivated, and I think they're just going to, walk all over Rutgers. I'll give a score prediction. I'll say 49-7.
Rutgers will be thankful that Penn State doesn't hang them by half 100. So I think it's going to be a blowout. Name the score, 41-7. That's probably where it'll be.
All right, and then so I have Penn State ending the regular season at 11-1. Kyle, you have them going 12-0. Either scenario would get Penn State in the Big Ten championship game, especially if they do beat Oregon, and regardless of what happens against Ohio State. So I'm assuming we both have Penn State, just so we're on the same page. We both have Penn State, Ohio State as a Big Ten title game.
Yes, and I got Penn State winning that one as
I
well.
do too. I don't think Penn State loses to Ohio State twice. This team is too good to be beaten by anybody twice, and I don't think Ryan Day is good enough to beat James Franklin twice. So I like Penn State in the Big Ten title game. We'll both give score predictions just for the heck of it. I'll go 28-24.
I'm going Penn State 38, Ohio State 27.
All right, that brings us to the playoff, and we're not going to get into predicting the entire college football playoff and who Penn State will play. We'll simply go to where they're going to finish, and I have this team winning the national championship. I think all the pieces are there. I think the depth is there for the most part, minus the positions that we talked about earlier. I think they have the right quarterback to do it. The running game is great. Everything we talked about over the offseason, and this team is experienced. This team is well coached. This team is motivated. I wasn't around in 1986, Kyle, but I get a lot of vibes from that. 85, you're upset about coming one game short. In this case, Penn State came up 2 games short, losing in the Orange Bowl both times in 85 to Oklahoma and then last year to Notre Dame. I just think this is the time, and I'll go Penn State finishes the season total with 14 wins, 14-1 national champions.
So here's because I have mine all out. So my 12-team playoff, I have Penn State number 1 overall. The other 11 teams, Texas is 2, Clemson is 3, Notre Dame is 4, Georgia's 5, Ohio State is 6, Kansas State is 7, Alabama is 8, Oregon is 9, LSU is 10, Illinois is 11, and Boise State is 12. Penn State goes to the Rose Bowl and hosts number 8 Alabama, and a win there. That takes them to the Peach Bowl. Penn State will play on Friday night against Notre Dame. Penn State will defeat Notre Dame in the Peach Bowl, and Penn State will become the second school after Texas to win all 6 New Year's Six Bowls. Then the national championship in Miami. Penn State clinches their first national championship since 1986 with a win over the Clemson Tigers.
There you have it. Aller beats Klubnik. Franklin beats Dabo. It's very possible. And we'll just have to see it unfold. But thank you for tuning in to this season preview spectacular, whatever you want to call it, on Joe and the Fat Man. The next time we talk, it's going to be the first game week of 2025, and we're like you, we can't wait. For Kyle Fatman Golik, I'm Joe Smeltzer signing off. Happy football season because, baby, it's here.